Hi there, my name is Anita Marsden and I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm going to talk to you today about the hand-brain model. All credit for this model goes to Dan Siegel, a neuroscientist extraordinaire and my hero. I've been following his work for some time, and he's written some absolutely fantastic books that I would highly recommend, like No Drama Discipline, The Whole Brain Child, Yes Brain Child. So if you're interested in how to apply really up-to-date current neuroscientific evidence to parenting and relationships, then check those out. Okay, so the reason I'm sharing this as a tool to use with your children and with yourself is because understanding our brain can help us to feel more in control. And they've done some really good studies. Dan Siegel talks about name it to tame it, which is literally the idea of naming that emotion that you're feeling can literally help you to feel better about it, to relieve that distress that you're feeling. And they've done some imaging studies which shows that when you name the emotion that you're feeling or that someone else is feeling, it can reduce the activity in part of your brain called the amygdala. Okay, so I'm just going to move to one side, and I'm going to put my hand like this. Okay, and I want you to imagine that my hand is your brain. Okay, so it's oriented in your head this way. So this is the front part of your brain and this is the back part of your brain. And coming up here, this is your spinal cord. Okay, so I just want you to imagine this is your spinal cord, and actually we've got something called the vagus nerve that brings information in from the body into our brain. Okay, and this first bit, the deepest bit of our brain here, is called the brain stem. Okay, it's a really important part of our brain. It evolved first. It's about 300 million years old, and it develops first in utero. Okay, and it sort of keeps us awake and alert. It takes care of lots of our kind of basic functions, and we share this part of our brain with reptiles. It's involved in like very, very old impulses. So our fight, flight and freeze reaction originates from this part of our brain. So another piece of information that can be really helpful is that we're a lot less in control of our emotions than we'd like to think. And another theory which we could talk about another time is called polyvagal theory, and they talk about neuroception, this idea that a really old part of our brain is just scanning our environment for threat and negative things, and actually we're not doing that. That's happening kind of automatically. Okay, so I'm just going to fold my thumb in, and if I had two thumbs I would make that symmetrical, because this part of our brain, this sort of middle bit of our brain, is called the limbic area. Okay, and this evolved next in history and it develops next in utero, and this is really connected. It's what kind of helps create emotion. It helps us feel connected to people as well, and it's involved in that kind of emotional reaction. Part of the brain called the amygdala is situated in our limbic area, and that's kind of like the alarm bell, and sort of sets off a reaction when we feel lots of different emotions. Okay, and then if I just pull this top part of my brain down here, this is the cortex. Okay, so cortex at the back kind of makes a map of the world. It has lots of different areas, but a really important part of our brain, the cortex, is the frontal cortex. And actually this part of our brain is developing, but most of it develops after you're born and is shaped by our experience. Okay, so this frontal part of our brain here is in control of kind of higher order functions like thinking and reasoning, and our ability to reflect is based here. And there's a really important part of this frontal cortex called the prefrontal cortex. Okay, and that is really important because it both connects that limbic area that we looked at earlier and the brainstem. Okay, so it can help to regulate our emotions as well. Okay, and what's really important about learning about this our brain, and we can teach this, and Dan Siegel talks about teaching this to children as young as sort of 5 or 6, is that it can help us to understand what's going on. Okay. And really importantly, and I like this concept, he talks about flipping our lid. Okay, so when our amygdala goes off and our emotions are triggered, that fight, flight and freeze response is triggered, we can flip our lid. Okay, and what we can understand from that is that no amount of reasoning or talking is going to resolve that emotional dysregulation, that distress that either you as a parent, a grown-up, is feeling, or your child. And you'll have experiences of trying to talk to somebody, whether it's a child or an adult, where they're just not listening, they can't listen, and that's because this rational part of their brain, the thinking part of their brain, has gone offline. And you're going to need to use other strategies in order to calm them and soothe them. And we can talk about and look at other tools in our toolkit for when we think that rational brain has gone offline. But actually what we're trying to do, and I guess what we'd like to do, is to develop the ability to bring that lid, to bring that lid back online again. Because once your lid's online, you can use those higher order functions to regulate your emotions. Okay, so that's the kind of basis of the hand-brain model, and I hope that made sense. I can definitely do a follow-up video if anyone's got any questions about that. And like I say, I think there are different strategies for when you flipped your lid to help with emotional regulation, as when your rational brain is online, and you can use more higher order thinking strategies to support your emotional regulation. Okay, thanks for listening.